Thank you. It'll be I'm very brief. I'm going to pass to the Chief Executive of the Office to speak to this, and we do have others who can answer questions if need be. I'll pass straight on to Paul, if I may.
Okay. Feels a bit like after the Lord Mayor's show, really, doesn't it? So I'll be brief. So what you've got here is, it says it's a work in progress, and it is a work in progress. If I just touch on what it doesn't contain at the moment, so you can know what the direction of travel. So at the moment, as you can see in the budget report, it's there's £4.395 million spent on commissioning, and you're getting a separate report next time on commissioning. So the performance report doesn't at the moment include the outcomes from the commissioning side of the business. But what we'd like to do is include it in routinely. So what you'll see then is the outcomes for the victims funding, the drug treatment funding, the funding on other aspects of small grants funding, those sorts of things. So at the moment they're not in this report. They will come to the panel separately, but from then on what we want to do is build a performance report that covers all those things together in one place. The other thing I'd say is if you look at, I think it's page 17 of the budget report. No, it's not page 17, I got the wrong page. But the page where it refers to the OPCC, it's page 19. There are a range of things that we are working on. So, you'll see there Violence Reduction Network, Early Intervention Youth Fund, East Midlands Criminal Justice Board, and so on. Now, all of these things have a performance dimension to them. A lot of these things are new and therefore aren't sort of currently configured under the performance standards. But what we want to do is bring you measures of each of those as well. Haven't got them here. We'll build those in as and when we've got robust measures. Certainly, for instance, on the Violence Reduction Network, we have performance targets in relation to violence reduction and engagement with the community. We can report on those. Those won't finish. I mean, that's very, very new. That won't be available till after March. So the point I'm making is that there's a lot of performance information not in here. We've presented you with what we've got available at the moment. I'm not going to go through in detail. What I'll say is that there are two areas in there that are an issue. One area is to do with correspondence. There are two reasons for that. One reason is to do with the fact that we have had a rather convoluted arrangement with the police whereby every bit of correspondence that has a police connotation to it goes through the police liaison officer, out to the police, back to the police liaison officer, and back into then the correspondence return. That is a very clunky process which we've now changed. So it goes direct, not through the police liaison officer. The second one is to do with the number of visits, the ICV visits. As you can see in the report, that's entirely to do with the closure of 2 custody suites for a period of time. That's probably all I need to say. I mean, Lizzie's here. Lizzie's prepared the report and is willing to answer questions if there are any other queries. But that's the direction of travel. That's how we intend it to develop. The commissioning information will come next time. And for future, what we want to do is have a much more comprehensive performance report. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Paul. State the obvious, panel members, that there is a recommendation at 2 to discuss and note, but we'll come to that when you've all had the opportunity. I will take any questions on page 51 or 52. If not, we'll move on to the actual figures for clarification. Kevin? Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. We're referring to agenda item 7, page 65, but Paul referred back to page 19 with regards to the commissioning terms. The fourth bullet point down, if I may, is that the co-development of the new probation delivery arrangements. Do we know what's happening with the probation service? Will we get a report back in the future as to where it sits? Thank you.
Yeah, so just for clarity, on page 19, there's a reference to the number of other activities the OPC is undertaking, one of which is the development of the new probation operating model. I won't go into a lot of detail, but the I think most people are familiar that the Transforming Rehabilitation Initiative was effectively ended, and the MOJ was or is in the process of recommissioning the whole arrangements for probation, which essentially involves bringing the two sides of it together. We are part of that process, so we have, and when I say we, I mean we as an office specifically are one of about 3 offices, I think, that are involved in direct negotiations with the Ministry of Justice about how that's reconfigured. So we've been part and parcel of those negotiations. We've contributed to the design and development of the new specification. I mean, there's no secret that we would take the view that we'd want it to be managed much more locally. It probably won't end up in quite that position, but it will end up as a much more local service, and that's been the drive of our input in the redesign of the probation services. So it's about that contribution to the redesign of probation. Subject close to my heart because I used to run probation services, and it's a source of kind of anguish to me to see what's happened over the past few years, and I think this is an opportunity to make it a service that serves the local community in the way that Simon's talking to people about, talking to you, talking to the public of Leicestershire about the work of the police. Shouldn't we be having the same conversation with probation?
Yep. Even as a member of the Tory party, it was bad news even from day one when Minister Secretary of State Grayling announced changes to the probation service, but hey-ho.
Chair, to be fair, all governments make mistakes.
I didn't say the government, I said Secretary of State. Anyway, Elaine.
I don't know, mine's probably, it's not really a question. Well, I suppose it is a bit of a question. I'm very intrigued by what's written down here around the highlights on page 51. And it tickled me a little bit, actually, when the whole thing about, and it is very important that the well-being of your staff is taken into account. But on reading it, it says well-being event hosted by a consultant from Leicestershire County Council in July, and then it says staff were taught stress-relieving techniques using different props and techniques. So I'm intrigued by what those techniques were, and maybe they could be brought to this this meeting. Just as
Intrigued is a word we don't hear often in this panel. Yeah.
True. Now, I'm to blame for this, absolutely, because the officer of the county council, because that's what he is, came and saw me and produced 2 types of, well, if I say squash ball, you'll know what I mean. Yes. Kind of hard, small rubber balls, believe it or not, and impressed me hugely with that, and also the way he spoke on this issue. And the county had obviously thought what he said was valuable. So I asked that the staff meeting should include, he should come along. And I have to say, I think generally people were extremely impressed by what he does. I think he's a really valued member of the county council staff. He certainly ought to be. And dare I say it, I mean, I think perhaps his services should be used wider, maybe even the city council. Although I...
Does that mean it's very stressful?
Sorry?
If you destroy a stress ball within 2 hours,
or took it home.
I know the city council and city council members never need stress relieving. I mean, obviously not. It's just such a happy ship. But it might be. You might think about it. I'll certainly make sure he introduces himself to you, Elaine.
Thank you very much, Lord Barker. The only stress relief I need is about 5 to 5 on a Saturday afternoon. Anyway, moving to the Appendix A, what I'm going to do, members, is just shoot through each section. And obviously, it's quite detailed in a way, but it's your opportunity for clarification on all of this. So, but I'm going to be really swift, so please keep up with me. 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, bit longer that one, 1-5, 1-6, 1-7, 1-8, 1-9, moving on a section to 2-1, 2-2, 24, 25, 26, 26 again, sorry, 27, and Appendix B on page 63. So I presume everything is quite clear to you all, so thank you for that. So move back to the recommendation. I'm very happy to put the recommendation that that we have discussed and we have noted the report. Jonathan seconds. So thank you very much, members. Moving on to agenda item 7, page 65-66. Lauren is with us today, and almost certainly this is the report she's here for. So obviously it is the annual report, complaints against the Police and Crime Commissioner. Over to you, Lauren.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as members know, the relevant regulations confer the responsibility for dealing with complaints against the Commissioner to this panel, and that's been delegated to me as the first point of contact for considering complaints. When that delegation took place in September 2012, it was agreed that the panel would have an annual report, and that's the purpose of the report before you today. As you'll see, it's very short and reflects the fact that there have been no complaints over the last 12 months in relation to the Commissioner. I have received some correspondence, mainly by email, but it's clear on examination that that relates really to policing matters, and I've directed the complainants to the appropriate means of pursuing their complaint. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions for Lauren? Any questions on the report at all, pages 65-66? If not, I move the recommendation to note the contents of this report. Jonathan seconds. Thank you very much, members. Moving on to agenda item 8, page 67, National Association of Police, Fire and Crime Panels. Report of the Secretariat.
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, so, Ewan. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to take most of the report as read. I just wanted to emphasise one point, was that when this meeting was originally scheduled for the 29th of January, we invited Jill Mercer to the meeting, who is a member of the executive of the National Association of Police, Fire and Crime Panels. And I was hoping to pass most of her questions, your questions on to her, so I didn't have to answer them all. But when the meeting got moved to today, she was unable to make the new meeting. So I will try and answer your questions as best as I can, but please bear in mind that this is not my initiative, so I'm just reporting what others are doing elsewhere nationally. So, as I said, I'm going to take the report as read, and I just wanted to highlight what has changed since this issue last came to the panel. So the key points are that funding for joining the National Association or taking part in the association cannot come out of the Home Office grant, which is the money we receive for running this panel. So that's the first key point. And the second key point is, as a result of that, and as a result of many other panels being unable to join the National Association and pay the subscription fee, because it couldn't come out of the Home Office grant, then the National Association decided to get rid of the subscription fee of £700, so now there's no longer a fee for joining. So I thought this was a significant change and worth bringing it back to the panel to see whether it now wishes to join the association or not. And I'll leave it open to you.
Well, this is a long-running saga, isn't it? Why is it always the simplest things in local government that take the longest and somehow the easiest things? If you remember, we did all agree to pay a certain amount of monies other than Oadby and Wigston to join the association, but because Oadby and Wigston declined our kind offer to them, we didn't join. But since then, I won't say I watched it closely, but the National Association, what have they done in that time? There's a website, isn't there?
No, sorry. They have spent £700 on a website, but to my knowledge, the website is not up and running yet.
The big change is we don't have to pay any money whatsoever to join, but because of the history of the association, I'm finding it very difficult to find any advantage to join it at this moment in time. That's my own position, but I'm always willing to be persuaded. I'm also a great believer, actually, in members of similar thinking or groups of people similar, say like a trade union. I'm in the National Farmers Union, the PCCs in the National Association of PCCs. It's always good to come together to talk. They do meet in London, I understand, but they also do meet via Skype, etc., etc. But I am struggling to see the advantage, but members, I'll leave it to you to comment.
I have read this, and my sort of, by the end of it, I thought, well, what's the point? So my question really was, if somebody was here, I mean, obviously you could answer this, but, you know, why would we want to be part of something like this? You know, it's just another meeting. What would be the benefit to us as a panel to be part of this?
I think the main thrust of it is about a collective voice for police and crime panels nationally. And if the government are consulting on any policing issues, then police and crime panels will have a stronger voice if they can come together and give a collective view. I think that's the thrust of it.
My view has always been, Elaine, panels do want a stronger voice, but if you give them a stronger voice, you can only take away from the power of the PCC. So it destroys the legislation, really. And we come back to that one. Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a long saga, isn't it, this one?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years, isn't it?
2.5 years. And again, when you say there's no fee, well, of course there is a cost, because if you do join it and you want to go to London, somebody's going to have to pay for that, aren't they? So the hidden costs there are those sort of things. But from memory, when we had some sort of feedback for it, the first meeting they had, correct me if I'm wrong, hardly anybody turned up, it was suggested. And the Home Office have also made it clear that it can't be a pressure group, so you can't pressure the Home Office to do certain things or do other things. Is that still the case?
I just need to clarify. The Home Office have said that the funding can't come from the Home Office grant. They haven't said that it can't be a pressure group. I think there's a slight difference there.
That's my interpretation too. Yeah.
So as long as it's not coming from the Home Office grant, I think the association can still perhaps. They don't like to use the word lobbying, but try and influence. Yeah.
Ivan.
Thank you, Chair. I can't see the point in a £500 fee per annum for something that has almost no relevance. We all belong to the local government association. There's a county council's network. There are other groups out there that can take this argument forward. So I can't see the point in joining.
Yeah, so just to clarify, that the £500 fee no longer exists. It's now free to join the association.
It's in the report, it says £700 in one paragraph and £500 annual fee in another.
Yes, when the National Association was first set up, there was a £500 annual fee. But at their AGM in November just gone, they decided to get rid of the annual fee to encourage more panels to join.
Where you're 100% right, still got the LGA as well. Yeah. Who this panel takes advice from, I believe. Yeah. So the panel actually takes advice from the LGA, and obviously we're all members of the LGA. I don't think any of our councils is not a member of the LGA at this moment in time. No. So I think I'm going to propose that we decline their kind offer to join, and we will review the situation in 12 months' time. I look for a seconder, which Jonathan's very keen to second on. Yeah. All right. Just a quick vote. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Date of next meeting, it says it's scheduled. It will take place on the 20th of February, day after full council at Leicestershire. It is in Sparkenhoe for members to note. And item 10, I haven't decided to take any items as urgent other than to say thank you very much for all attending. Thank you very much for taking part, and a safe trip home. Thank you.